How do you write a resume that lands you the job? I've helped tons of my friends write resumes that have landed them jobs here in San Francisco in technology, even when they've had no background. It's not as hard as you might think. In this video, we're going to dissect my winning resume template. I'll go through every last piece of the resume to how you should format dates, how you should think about job gaps, what happens if you don't have a job for a while, what if you're just like working from home, you're working on your own things. I'll give you advice on how to deal with each of these objections in the resume. I'm Jordan Crawford, founder of jordancrawford.com, where I help people land tech jobs here in San Francisco. Keep watching. All right, so let's dive into it. Let's take a look at the resume template that I give the folks that I work with totally for free, and let's break it down piece by piece so that you can understand the things that will lead you to write and create a really successful resume. I'm going to give you the Google Doc that you can just download and use totally for free in the description, but it's really important that you understand each piece, because if you do this by yourself, you're bound to make a bunch of small mistakes, and that's what I see all the time. Folks will make just tiny mistakes all around the resume, and to lead employers to scan that resume, see those mistakes, and move on to the next candidate. So let's dive in. Great, here's my resume. Here's sort of a high-level overview. You can see it's nothing fancy. It's not about the fanciness of the resume. A lot of people like to put drawings and colors and just get your point across. The purpose of the resume is not to convince someone to hire you, it's to convince them to interview you. And that's a really important distinction. You just need to get to the next step. You don't need to convince them that you're the greatest baked potato in town. All right, let's get into it. I got my name front and center, so when they pull up that resume, they know exactly who they're looking at. I have all of my contact details up here. I include a LinkedIn link, and you can change and customize yours, so make sure it doesn't say X435. Some of those LinkedIn URLs are really terrible. Make sure you have a LinkedIn account, and that's what I would suggest adding here. Include your website if you have it. This is a real differentiator if you have your own website, because it says to an employer that you can create things, that you have the independent drive to do something. If not, I would just stick with the gmail.com address, especially if you're applying for tech jobs. Hotmail.com, AOL.com, those things communicate something about you that some employers look down upon, to be honest, here in tech. So take that into account. Okay, now also just simple, again, I have my email and phone number. And now notice that my email has a custom domain. That's important too. That's just like the website, super important. I have experience. Now notice, so I've got a line now to differentiate. Now you're getting into the meat of the resume. So let's zoom in a little bit. So you can see I have the experience section, and it says company, San Francisco, California, and then some dates. This doesn't seem really important, right? All resumes have this, but the devil is in the details. I see people make mistakes on this all the time. Notice that I have the company, an M dash, and the city and state, and that's always consistent. I see people that write SFCA, and then later down they'll say New York City, New York, so it's a different formatting, and people notice that. I also don't have any spaces on either side of that M dash, which is right after company and before the city. That's the M dash. Then the dates are really important. Notice I spell out the months. May, February, how do you say that month? February. And then the website.com. So this is really important to make sure that this is consistent, to make sure the spaces are consistent. I've taken a lot of time to make sure that this template has really consistent spaces, so pay attention to that. A lot of small things can kill your resume, and a lot of small things can make your resume great. Now we've got the title. Notice this piece is in bold. Super important, because when folks scan your resume, they don't care about the company as much, they care about your position. They want to know, do you have a relevant position history for the thing you're applying for? So great, let's go down. Most important summary of what you did. Oh man, I see this mistake all the time. Not only do people not rank order their resume, which you absolutely should do, you should put the thing that you're most proud of at the top, but they don't include a summary of what they did. So a lot of folks will just regurgitate the job description, which is terrible. It's like saying, yes, indeed, someone that had this position was expected to do this, but it doesn't say I did this, right? And that's an important distinction. Also, notice that the other thing that's in bold besides the position are the results of that thing. So you really want to say, look, anyone can mop the floors, but if you say, I mopped 368 floors in 12 days, and I was awarded #1 floor mopper for HiltonHotels.com, you wouldn't be mopping. You wouldn't be mopping HiltonHotels.com, would you? But that's really important to make sure that it is graduated. Again, second most important summary of what you did. So this is just second on the list. The thing that you think is the second most important accomplishment of that job. So we're just going to repeat that same format for all of the jobs that you had. Now I'll get into a little bit later in the video about what do you do if you're consulting, or maybe you're working on your own project, or maybe you have a gap in employment history. Those are some things to think about. Let's go to the end. So Jordan Crawford University, as you can see, I have my own university. I wouldn't suggest you go there. It's not accredited. So it says degree, June 2014. So you don't need to talk about how long you were there. Just say exactly when the degree was awarded. And actually, this is a perfect example of an inconsistency I found even in my own template. They both should say degree and the date. Unless it is in the future, then you can say degree awarded and have that future date. Great. So that's the template in the abstract, but now I want to dive into a specific exact resume that I helped my friend create. So I've obscured some of the details, but we're going to dive into that and show you what this looks like in a real resume. Hopefully this is helpful for you. Spider-Man. I definitely have helped Spider-Man find a job. So I've changed some of the details around. So you can see that what's missing here in this resume are this person's details about contact information, etc. I've removed Spider-Man's details. I mean, how is he going to remain anonymous if I provide you his details? He does live in New York, though. Notice the consistent formatting spaces here between each of the dashes. All of the formatting is consistent: August, January, August, December, May. There's no DEC, there's no 12, right? Really consistent formatting, consistent spaces. And actually, because there are places I made a mistake, I wonder if you caught it here. The URL is not underlined. JordanCrawford.com is not underlined, but these other URLs are. So this is a perfect thing that if I was hiring this person, I would say, they missed this piece. And it's a small thing, but I can't tell you how many resumes I personally have discarded after seeing a lot of little small problems. Let's dig into it. This is the title, right? Senior Digital and Content Strategist. I know where this firm is located. And you can see we also did telecommute lower down the resume, so you don't have to be in a place, you don't have to mention the city that you're in, but if you do, just be consistent. So this is the first most important thing that my friend Spider-Man has accomplished. Led a 6-month digital marketing campaign to generate annuity sales in a down year. So this is a super, super powerful bullet point because A, it has a number, 6 months. Digital marketing campaign, right? They're a senior digital strategist. They're applying for a digital role. Great, reemphasize that. Generate, there's an action word in there. And also, notice that I try to include action words at the start of every single both description as well as their goals, their bullet point that says, here's what I've accomplished. In a down year too. What a great addition. So important because it says, look, everything was going down. The trends were down. Not only did I reverse that, but I increased sales, right? So we've got a number here. Spider-Man has done XXX. I've blotted out the number for security here in the second half of the year. So this is another thing that, with consistency, second half, the 2 and then ND. So anywhere in this resume, if there's a second or a third or a fourth, use that same consistency. Don't write SECOND. In this case, actually, Spider-Man put things in brackets. You probably don't need the brackets, but again, consistency is key. Notice another thing too that I will mention as something that can further be improved, which, I worked on this resume with Spider-Man about 100 times. We went back and forth. And notice that in the Axis Capital role below, that there's only one bullet point with results, right? That's a little sloppy. I definitely should have suggested that Spider-Man include results for his other life-saving activities. All right, let's go to the second bullet point. Manage digital content and strategy for the retail annuities business. Capitalize this, proper noun. It's a proper section of the Tall Tales New Insurance Company, and B2B and B2C. So if the job you're applying for is trying to target both B2B and B2C leads, it's important to include that. So here's another thing that I just noticed here. Increase web lead conversions by 250%. So there's a number. It starts with increased. We also say the word increase 4 times. As someone that would be reading this resume, I definitely would have changed that to use different words. Maybe this is an old example, but you notice how I haven't looked at this in a long time. So now I'm coming back to it and I'm noticing small things. Change the word increased. We're going to find some synonyms. Grew, improve, tripled. You know, there's all sorts of clever ways that you can talk about the same sort of concept of increasing something. And YOY, another good trick to avoid making your resume look a little silly is to use acronyms, because maybe you're super familiar with a particular industry and DOJ, LBM, MLB, NBA, right? People don't always know what acronyms mean. So in this case, if it's a digital marketing role, maybe they'll know that YOY is year over year, but definitely spell it out. And if you feel like you are using a term over and over in the resume, you can spell it out the first instance and then put it in brackets so you can say year over year, YOY, and then use YOY in the rest of the resume, because you're telling your reader you may not know this particular acronym, but I'm going to spell it out for you to make sure that you know, and then I'll use the acronym to shorten things up later in the resume. Okay, implement an essential company-wide social media analytics tracking strategy. So why was it essential? Company-wide, that's important, right? It's for everyone, but I may argue, aren't they always company-wide? If you're implementing a social strategy for your company, it is indeed company-wide. So I might change this a little bit, but then we've got the results here. Increased web traffic via social media by 31% year over year. This is great. We're talking about growth here. Spearhead, a gamification program that's used to educate and engage Salesforce. So I might look at the word Salesforce and think, oh, you mean the company? So I might actually change that wording, but increase engagement by 22% year over year. So we've gotten to the meat of this particular job. You can see that the increased sales is the most important piece of this resume. They've got a number, a huge number, and that's the thing that people are going to skim and then move on to the next piece. Again, we have some more examples of the companies that he's worked for, his titles, and notice how your eye is moving from the title bold, right, the thing that matters, and then the results. And that's what you want the recruiter to see, are those results. Scroll all the way to the bottom. You can see that there are some other clever here. Talk about Facebook ads, cost per conversion. And I really want to focus in on Spider-Man Consulting. So in this particular case, the person that I was working with here, they were doing some consulting for their dad and other folks. And so you can see that there's a large time series in here where they were essentially working on their own. And this is a great way to cover gaps in your resume. You want to talk about the things that you have been doing, not that you had a job in 2014 and then another job in 2016, and you did something in that period. So talk about that. It doesn't necessarily have to be things you did for money. Maybe you volunteered, maybe you were in school in that period of time, maybe you helped folks out in other ways. You can get a little bit creative with the types of things that you're doing. People mainly just want to know what happened in that time frame. Now, me personally, I went to school and worked a part-time job, so that was helpful because I had no gaps in my resume, and it kind of looked like I had way more experience than I did because I didn't have a gap in my resume. So even though I was doing something part-time while I was going to school, my resume looked really, really complete. And no one asked me about it. Even though my job was here in Silicon Valley, I went to school in Missouri. No one said, how did you do this job in Silicon Valley in Missouri? As long as you can tell that story convincingly, that's the most important thing. Now, I'm not telling you to make things up in your resume. Absolutely do not do that. It is not about that, and that will get you nowhere. It's just really important to talk about the things you did do, and remember that you are usually your harshest critic. And this is something that is not really related directly to your resume, but you are the person that is hardest on yourself. If you ask other folks to look at your resume, that's going to be the best indication of what other people, how other folks see it. So maybe you say, I don't know if that was that impressive, right? Really try to nail that down and have other folks look at it and say, was this, is this really communicating your message? Education, this is really standard. In this case, we talked about the study exchange in Italy. The nice thing about this last section is that it's a conversation point. It's something for people to engage you in, like, oh, you studied in Italy, Urban Ideo. That's a good idea, right? That and allows some personal connection when the interview happens. And then there's some certifications here. These are important if it's important for your industry to have certifications, but generally I don't advise people to have an objective or certifications, etc. All of that should be done in a cover letter or an intro email. Don't put that in your resume. Your resume is really just the perfect distillation of your responsibilities and your accomplishments. And if it goes beyond that, you're putting too much in your resume. Also note that Spider-Man's resume is one page. It's one page. Don't try to tell me, oh, I need 2 pages. I've done so much. One page, because anytime I see 2 pages as an employer, I throw it right out the window, because that to me signals that someone is not concise. They can't take this broad message and really distill it down to what are the most important points. Sometimes this means leaving things off of your resume, things that you've done way far in the past that are not relevant to the job, but really try to get it down. And I try to weight the most recent jobs heavier than the jobs that are further down. So maybe you want 4 bullet points up top, and you can see that we did that, and some other bullet points further down. In terms of generating numbers and how you think about the numbers, you can be a little fuzzy here. You don't necessarily have to go and call your old clients that you worked with 10 years ago to say, hey, how much did I do on that thing? Really think about, to the best of your knowledge, how should you quantify your work? How should you really think about the value you provided? Because those are the types of questions that people are going to ask in an interview. So this is it for my resume example. I am going to give you a bunch of really great links. I'll send you this resume here in the description. If you subscribe, I'll upload new videos, give you some strategies to think. How do you think about interviewing? How you think about applying? How you think about negotiating? Really importantly, a lot of the folks that I work with have confidence concerns. Hey, oh, I'm not worth that, or I don't think so. And I will tell you, that's the company's job to say what they think you are worth, and it's your job to assert what you are worth. And a lot of the folks that I work with have some confidence building concerns. So I will address all these in future videos. You can go to jordancrawford.com if you'd like some tips, tricks, some help with your resume. I'm happy to look it over. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you need help with your resume or want some examples, I'm here for you. Take care.